Hi guys, it's important to understand that before we derive into the non-functional requirement or start writing the non-functional requirements, we have to have a starting point. So we need to prioritize these non-functional requirements. Now you are doing a design document and you are completely ignoring is not the solution. So as I said in the last section, when you see the baseline architecture and then you see the target architecture and then do the gap analysis of this, in every phase of the architecture or in every phase of the project, you need to remember that we have to prioritize the non-functional requirements. Now if you see, most of the firms considers the availability, continuity and security as the most critical non-functional requirements, and they classify this uh, most important, and rest of them, it's not that they are ignoring the other part of it, they also treat the other things as a secondary compared to availability, continuity and security. So this is how you start prioritizing, and this prioritization scheme may vary from one industry to another or one organization to another, or if you are in one domain, say for example aviation, the non-functional requirements in aviation will vary from the non-functional requirements in the banking side. So this is the key thing you need to remember here. And now let us get some example of the non-functional requirements, keeping IT into consideration, where you are designing your projects, you have an architecture requirement and the business analyst are writing the functional requirement, as well as they are giving a concentration on the non-functional requirements. Now let's have a look into the next screen. Now if you see interface requirements, so what is an interface requirements? How will the new system interface with its environment? Now this user interface and the user friendliness is the most important factor that needs to be considered in the interface requirements. So how this is interfacing with other system, I will show a lot of examples on this, taking some of the architecture view of it in the next few sections. But before that, let's just get an overview of how this non-functional requirements looks like. Now, from the performance requirements, what is the performance? In what time, space bounds, or the workload you are putting? What is the response time? What is the throughput? What is the available storage space? And based on that, whether the system is able to handle this much requirements or this much transaction per seconds or not is something we need to consider. Let's see the next one. Now if you see the reliability requirements, what is the reliability requirements? These are again talking about the availability of the components when you are asking for it. Now, the system must have less than 1 hour of downtime per 6 months. In one phase of 6 months, the system cannot go down below 1 hour. Means if you are putting something in the production, whether you are not putting in the production, doesn't matter. The system should not be down. I am going for the shopping market at any time in the midnight. I am in the one country, you are in another country, but you all are accessing the same, say for example, google.com at any point in time. Do you want Google to be down for 1 hour also? No. So that is what the reliability components come into factor. The integrity of the information is maintained and supplied to the system or not. You are querying something to the system, is it going to return back the results what you're expecting or not? That is called reliability. And then the security requirements comes into picture. Now what is this authentication? Are you able to break through the Pentagon site? No, you should not be. Are you able to go to any banking site and get my money out of it, or somebody other's money? Are the hacker going to go inside the system or not? So those kind of authentication authorizations are some of the security requirements. So the permissible information flow, who can do what, these are the kinds of security requirements you need to also remember while prioritizing these non-functional requirements. Now let's move to one of the interesting section where we are going to talk about that how you will be uncovering the non-functional requirements. Now, say for example, that you have a system and you want to uncover the non-functional requirements. How do you know basically what are the non-functional requirements you want to cover? So to do that, the failure mode and effect analysis is very important. This is the key term which you need to remember. And based on this, this is a technique. This is the technique which you need to follow to find out that what are the non-functional requirements which will be very much applicable for my project. There can be hundreds of projects, one project, 5 projects, but how will you do that? So follow this FMEA analysis mode, and this, the objective of this is to improve the reliability, quality and safety of the products and process. Now how do you do that? Now you need to identify the potential failures of the system. Now when I say potential failures of the system, say uh, one of the failure is your system is not at all available when I need it. Example, I am hitting google.com on the browser and Google is not at all available. I am want to do a transaction through a banking site. That banking site itself is not available. It has a downtime happening. So you start identifying the potential failures, and then what will be the effect of the failure? Now, if I am going for a banking transaction in the midnight and I want to transfer some immediate money to another account and the banking site itself is not available, so I want to do an IMPS transfer which will be immediate, but the site itself is down. How will I do that? So we have to evaluate the potential failure effects. What will happen if the system is not available at all? Now then you start defining the mitigation for these failures. How will you mitigate this? So you have to keep a disaster recovery server, or you have to make sure that there is a fallback server. So you have a banking site which is in server A, say for example, and you see that server A is down. Then what you do? You have server B in another location. Now, the moment server A goes down, server B takes up. If server B goes down, server C takes up in another country. So one is in Europe, one is in the US, one is in Asia. Like that, you started doing the mitigation for those failures. And then you start documenting the process. This is how you will be uncovering the non-functional requirements for every system, starting from one banking, a small, very small system. We were talking about the insurance system. In any system, you start looking at the system, what it is, what is the objective of that system, what it wants to achieve, what are the failure points, how will you handle those failures, and what will be the effect of those failures, and then start doing the mitigation and document this process. Once you document this process, then you are in the next stage of uncovering the non-functional requirement. Now this is what I am going to show you and talk about, at least 2025 non-functional requirements in this course, and that will give you an idea as an architect, as a business analyst, as a solution architect, as a developer, as a tester, whoever goes through this, at least they have in mind these are the few key things. As an architect, you can't remember the thousands of NFRs around the world, right? But when you are designing a system, at least 20-25 NFRs, if it puts into your brain, you know these are the things has been covered or has been looked into, has been taken care, then your system will be perfectly fine. If not perfect, at least it will reach to the optimal level what you are expecting out of that system. So that is what we will be discussing in the next section. Let's move to the next section now.